There's something going down on the farm these days. Food being grown in strange new ways, created in a lab by engineers, then sold to us.
Prominent science journal Nature editorialized that we are now swimming in information about genetically modified crops, but that much of that information is wrong on both sides of the debate. But a lot of this incorrect information is sophisticated, backed by legitimate-sounding research, and written with certitude, quipping that with GMOs, a good gauge of a statement's fallacy is the conviction with which it is delivered. To many in the scientific community, GMO concerns are dismissed as one big conspiracy theory. In fact, one item in a psychological test of belief in conspiracy theories asked people if they believed food companies would have the audacity of being dishonest about genetically modified food. The study concluded that many people were cynical and skeptical with regard to advertising tricks, as well as the tactics of organizations like banks and alcohol, drug, and tobacco companies. That doesn't sound like conspiracy theory. That sounds like
talk about genetically modified foods. And again, this is a conspiracy of both parties. Obama said in 2007, we would label genetically modified foods, which, by the way, Europe has this.
China. I'll immediately implement country of origin labeling, because Americans should know where their food comes from. We'll let folks know whether their food has been genetically modified.
This is the longest, most thorough study to have been carried out.
At this stage, it might prove useful to know exactly what GMOs are used for. It is a plant that has been developed either to produce its own insecticide or to be tolerant to a herbicide, thus enabling it to be exposed to massive doses of it without dying. One can understand how GMOs could be useful to farmers. For example, they would be able to spray their entire field with Roundup, killing all the weeds in the process and never harming the genetically modified plant. On the other hand, it is hard to see the benefits for the consumer, who will effectively be ingesting substances coming from a plant that has absorbed pesticides. That is why it is crucial to test not only the GMO, but also the GMO with its residue and the pesticide on its own.
Oh no, GMO, say no to GMO. Buy organic to save our planet, and say no to GMO.
But what is undeniable is that in the group that has been exposed to the GMOs, there is a 600% increase, or 6 times more deaths, compared to the control. This is the GMO that is being eaten by the Americans, but also the GMO that has been approved for importation by European agencies, including the French ones, and food.
Nowadays, only 2 types of GMOs are being produced in a few European countries. One is corn and the other potato. But what about the 27 million tons of transgenic soya that are unloaded each year in European ports? This soya is used to feed our cattle, but it also makes its way into a number of foodstuffs.
What we want to achieve with this study is a moratorium, the situation everything and anything. We imported without knowing what was being imported, and the United States have produced crops without knowing what they were producing. There needs to be more studies of this kind, and GMO manufacturers need to conduct them before commercializing their products.
A moratorium on growing GMOs has been approved by most European countries. Now that we know the results of the study conducted by Professor Seralini, could it be time to extend this moratorium to all the GMO used in many of our foods? To establish an undeniable scientific truth, one needs teams, time.
In 2011, consumers, scientists, and organic food companies in California worked together to put Prop 37, also known as the California Right to Know Genetically Engineered Food Act, on the November 6, 2012 ballot. Who else will vote down this grassroots initiative but these guys? They worked so hard amassing $46 million, spent on flyers and media advertisements to defeat Prop 37 and your basic right to know, until backlash ensued, because it didn't take much for consumers to figure out who were funding the anti-GMO labeling campaigns. Prop 37 also paved the way for other state labeling initiatives. Connecticut, Maine, and 20 other states have passed GMO labeling bills that are currently pending legislation. Then came Initiative 522, or the People's Right to Know Genetically Engineered Food Act in Washington. On November 5, 2013, I-522 narrowly lost, 49 to 51%, in favor of...
There's something going down on the farm these days. Food being grown in strange new ways, created in a lab by engineers, then sold to us.
Go Vermont! I am so honored to be here with the bravest legislators in America. Bill that will bring fairness to the people of the great state of Vermont. We in this state today will sign the first bill in America, joining 60 other countries, where Vermonters will have the right to know what's in their food.